And one of
Yes.
my pet peeves is when brands send me their sample kit and it arrives in the mail and they know that, they would have sent hundreds of these things out. I never get tired of smelling fragrances.
If you've heard of the Longevity Bible Lifespan by Professor David Sinclair, you know that living well is more important than just living long. In fact, this show is dedicated to the science of beauty, wellness, and longevity. That's why I'm so thrilled to partner with Melrose Future Lab for Season 9 of the Ageless Radiance Club podcast. Future Lab is Australia's first supplement range focused on extending not just your lifespan, but your health span. Available exclusively at Chemist Warehouse, these affordable and science-backed supplements are the key to aging. Welcome to the Ageless Radiance Club podcast, where we explore the fascinating intersections between beauty, longevity, and wellness. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the captivating world of fragrances with a guest who brings unmatched expertise and passion to the subject. Clayton is the Evaluation and Communications Manager at Fragrances of the World, the definitive guide to all things scent. Mentored by Michael Edwards, an icon of the fragrance industry, Clayton transitioned from an award-winning career in fashion writing to the world of perfumery. He's completed his studies at the prestigious Grasse Institute of Perfumery, and in this episode, we'll explore how fragrance has evolved from the golden age of designer perfumes and bold celebrity scents to the rise of niche brands. From clean fragrances to functional fragrances and everything in between. Fragrance is now even being touted as a connection between wellness and longevity. And as we uncover the rise of functional fragrances and the growing popularity of skin scents, you're going to have all your questions answered. Whether you're curious about how to find your perfect fragrance or interested in the most exciting new brands, get ready for a beautiful conversation that's unforgettable.
With perfume, it's this really, and I'm sure you would have looked at the science of it, of how the part of the brain that is associated with smell and perceiving smell is this ancient part of the brain which is really connected to emotion and memory, and it's completely bypassing the neocortex, the sort of the logical part of our brain, which is responsible for language, which is why some people find it so hard to describe what it is they're smelling. But we just have this sort of really instinctual, emotional experience when we smell something. I'd never thought of that, but I really like your comment there of actually, as part of agelessness, of smelling these scents that we were familiar with in previous parts of our life. And it almost takes up, not the physical body, but the mental body. We're back. We're that age. We're a kid again. Very fortunate that I'm in a situation where my job is to literally smell perfume. And so I smell a lot of it. So it's always, I always count myself as lucky being able to explore, as you probably did, through those jobs, the wide range of fragrances that are out there. And I never get tired of smelling fragrances.
I always say I lived through the era of the Elizabeth Taylor Diamonds
Um,
collection. It's a really fun time to be a consumer of perfume as well. And I think that one of the things that I appreciate it, I think, the demographic that I kind of fit into is we're Gen Xers, and so we were part of the big bold fragrance movement. We lived through Opium, we lived through Lulu, Giorgio Beverly Hills. I went to Michael Edwards's recent American fragrance book launch,
yeah,
which is so fascinating. I absolutely love that book. I
yeah,
actually love a lot of these big bold American fragrances. I didn't realize how many I really adored,
right.
and I like that style because,
Mm,
I'm Gen X and
mm.
they were big booming moments. If you wanted to be the older girl or a bit more sophisticated than your age, you would gravitate towards these bold fragrances.
I mean, sure, you could argue that maybe fragrances like
Baccarat Rouge,
or Sunset 33 or Aventa,
100%.
captured the cultural sort of zeitgeist of that decade, and that when we smell those, we'll have that same reaction that you just had to say Lulu, 20, 30 years down the track. But it is this thing that people are much more individual and there's much more out there, so people are able to explore. I think then the challenge becomes, how do you navigate that if you're new to fragrance?
I have a great update to share from Melrose Future Lab. Hormonal health is a vital hallmark of aging and longevity, and whether you're navigating perimenopause or menopause, Melrose Future Lab's new ultra-complex supplements are here to support you. Backed by clinical research and using advanced technology for effective absorption, these formulations are designed to provide relief through every phase. Find them exclusively at Chemist Warehouse. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
I can order fine, give me a menu in Australia and fine, send me to Europe, even in France. I'm always fascinated and love how French people can just like read that menu and kind of go, okay, no, but this, this appellation, no, and this year, oh, that was a good year, and oh, I'm feeling like I'm in the mood for this, so therefore I'm going to drink this. And I think like I would love to see consumers be able to have those conversations about fragrance in the same.
I want to talk to you about niche within niche. I was
Mm,
very, very lucky in my previous life before being in publishing and pure kind of media. I
mhm.
was in distribution. I had a distribution business called Brand Makers, and I imported and distributed 30 beauty and skincare and fragrance brands into Australia. And four of the brands that I launched L'Artisan Parfumé into Australia.
As we were saying before, fragrance is sort of really just sat in the space where it's mystical, no one quite understands it. And I think the oil houses, so people, companies like IFF and Givaudan and Firmenich who are sort of producing a bulk of the fragrances in the world. And I was having this conversation the other day. We were talking about perfume through the decades. And I was sort of saying, I think because we were talking about some of the classics, and this is sort of pre Diarissimo. So if you've got Diarissimo, but then just before that, you've got obviously Diarella, but then you have things like Diaressence and these sort of really leathery Chypre. And even if you look at the original Miss Dior, it's quite masculine.
I love the
And
original Miss Dior.
yeah, me too, me too.
And all of the subsequent Miss Diors make me want to cry.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a, I think, perfection in terms of a collection and an evolution. How that all came together with Edmund Rodnitska is just amazing. But it was fascinating for me because if you look at what women were doing and what they were wearing at the time, and
Yes.
sort of those fragrances like from Germaine Cellier, like amazing perfumer, and one of the only female perfumers of the 50s.
I would love for your comment. And I've got one that you told me is your pick of the bunch. And I have to say, it's one of my favorite things as well. And this is Goldfield and Banks Discovery Collection, an Australian blockbuster niche fragrance that is really performing so incredibly well by our beautiful friend Dimitri, who has turned Australia into a global hotspot for fragrance.
Completely agree. I think, in my travels and time abroad, it's the one brand where I get the most questions on when people say, "Oh, you live in Australia, like Australian fragrance, Goldfield and Banks. Have you heard of this brand?" I was like, "Yes, yes, we all know and love Dimitri." But I love this because, again, I'm so excited for the summer, which I said at the beginning, and I'm just happy to be in Australia and spend my summer here and in the holiday season.
And I think
Dimitri.
it's also so cute because you've got the blotters too, which
Mm,
most
they
discovery
don't.
sets do not come with.
Yeah.
And this is such a great addition to this because it gives you that sense of, your own little perfume shop or little lab. And you can try it here first and let it settle and, just gently discover it and then
Mhm.
choose which one you want to try on your skin, similar to what you were saying before, like different
Yeah.
ways of experiencing fragrance, but
Yeah.
also how generous is it? I mean, it's got so many
Yeah.
of the fragrances from the
Yeah.
collection.
It's a beautiful presentation. So I'm a stickler for detail, and one of
Yes.
my pet peeves is when brands send me their sample kit and it arrives in the mail, and they know that they would have sent hundreds of these things out, and then it arrives, you take the lid off, and the samples have all sort of fallen through the holes, and they're all over the place, and they've leaked. But so I'm a real appreciator of when a sample kit is done well, and it's like investment has been made in terms of the presentation and the quality of the packaging. I think that's really cool.
You're listening to the highlights edit of a longer episode. If you enjoyed this clip, be sure to download and listen to the full episode.